Let's head out to the hotline and bring on voice of the Broncos, Dave Logan, who you also hear weekdays from 9 a.m. to noon on Logan and Lewis. Dave, thanks for the time tonight. We really appreciate it.
Hey, guys. How are you?
We're doing pretty good, obviously better after a win. We're just sort of discussing Drew Lock and over the course of that game, and I'd love to obviously get your perspective on, was there a moment in there where you were concerned about Drew Lock's confidence into the third quarter when it just seemed like he really wasn't settling, he wasn't finding his receivers, and maybe even consider at that point bringing in Brett Rippon for a little bit, even if Drew Lock is going to remain your starter long term?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest about it. That crossed my mind. I mean, they were so bad on offense. I just think there are times where you're going to try anything to try to shake things up. And I did think that there was a possibility that they may put Brett Rippon in and just see how he did. I mean, because even though he threw the 4 picks against the Jets, he also moved the ball. Now you've got to factor in that it was against the Jets, but they just, I mean, the Broncos yesterday couldn't get anything going offensively, and honestly, it was one of the worst performances that I can remember in recent memory up until about the 6-minute mark of the third quarter, and then they obviously, if you saw the game, they got things put together. They went on touchdown drives, they made big plays. And they found a way to win the game, which I think is the most important thing in terms of building confidence for a young offense. They found a way to win that game, and they had not really done that much over the last handful of years.
You know, it hasn't really come up so far, I don't think. But to me, it was evident that not having a contested catch guy like Courtland Sutton or Tim Patrick, who's been that guy over the last couple of games, was really hurting that offense in the first half. Would you say that you saw that as well?
Well, I think he missed when you've got a receiver like Courtland Sutton or Tim Patrick. I mean, Tim Patrick has turned into a pretty valuable receiver on this team. And I think what they bring is an ability with their size to, when they get, and you guys know this, when you get single coverage out there, you can just put the ball up in an area that allows those big guys to go up and get it. And I do think that they missed the presence of those guys. Sutton's out for the year, but the presence of Patrick, I think, was missed yesterday in the game. Honestly, going back and looking at the game, guys, I didn't see a whole lot of receivers running free. I didn't see receivers all that open. I think I'm not real sure what happened. But I think once Phillip Lindsay hit that long run, it just sort of energized the Broncos, and it's hard to quantify exactly what that means, but they played with much more of a sense of urgency after Lindsay went to the end zone.
Dave, of the things that happened late in the third quarter and into the fourth quarter, what was the most impressive thing to you?
I think that there were a couple of things. I think, and Vic Fangio talked about this today in his press conference, the 3rd and 8 completion to Deshaun Hamilton, because up until that point, they really hadn't got anything going. I remember just almost feeling astounded that they had a first down. I mean, they had 2 first downs, I think, to that point, 21 for the Chargers. It was, again, done a lot of games, but it was unlike anything that I can remember in terms of calling a game for the Broncos. So the 3rd down completion was big. I also thought, after going back and looking at the game, it's 24-10. Phillips already scored. The Broncos had the ball, and they faced a 3rd and 16 as they were going north, and he threw a deep dig to Jerry Jeudy that his feet, Drew Lock's feet, are on the 20-yard line. And when Jerry Jeudy catches that dig route, he's almost at midfield. The window was small. The anticipation was really outstanding by Lock. And that throw, I think, when you go back and look at it, I mean, that gives at least me hope that this kid has. I mean, there's some quarterbacks playing today that cannot make that throw. So that was a huge throw. He goes for 45 or 46 yards. I think the next play, Hamilton catches the ball over the middle, and free safety took a really horrible angle, and he scores. And so they just hit some big plays. The other thing that really struck me was in the last drive, they had Joey Bosa on Garrett Bowles' side, and so obviously the pass protection, you're sliding that way. And then they had Melvin Ingram standing up over Schlotman, excuse me. And that was difficult. And so I think, Austin had a couple of really good blocks on the long touchdown run by Lindsey, had a great block on that play. But that's a tough matchup for a guy that's, thrust into the starting lineup. And here you've got Melvin Ingram, and you've got him basically by yourself. So I thought Locke hung in the pocket and threw the ball under some duress. But the bottom line is they just made enough plays down the stretch to find a way to win a game.
Over the course of this season, Drew Lock's passer rating is about 45 points higher when they play at tempo than when they don't. Do you think Pat Shurmur, who has been loath to do that, would maybe incorporate more up-tempo plays and more up-tempo offense to kind of get him confident?
Coaches get pretty set in their ways, and I think that, and that's not a knock on Pat, because there's a lot of guys that once you have a little bit of success throughout the course of your career and you learn from guys and you learn, a way that you like things done, it's difficult at times for those guys to change midstream. But I think that would probably have to come from Vic Fangio in terms of playing a little more up-tempo. I think there's risks to that, obviously, because their third down conversion has not been good this year. Well, if you're converting at 35% or thereabouts on third down, and you're running an up-tempo, you're going to completely wear out your defense because you're not going to stay on the field that much. So I think to find a balance, again, I think, everybody wants success right off the bat. We want it right now. And that just doesn't happen it happens for a handful of guys in the league, but for the most part, not the case, and especially at quarterback. So still work to be done, but I want to see Drew Lock stay healthy, and I want to see him play for the remainder of the season so that everybody, including the team, can get a real good evaluation on exactly what this kid is going to be like.
Dave, always great to have you on. Thank you so much for the time tonight.
All right, guys. Great to catch up.